You know, in the past, we used to drink wine like we used to listen to an album of music. You know, we would listen to the whole album. Now we listen to a playlist. He said, you know, Coravin is the Spotify of wine.
So, Greg, thank you so much for talking a little bit with us.
Of course.
You're the inventor of Coravin, a true revolution in the consumption of wine, but you do have a medical background.
I do.
Tell us how one thing influenced another. How did your medical career impact all of your wine experience and the developing of Coravin?
So, as you know, people that work in medicine and doctors absolutely love wine. And so, like doctors, I loved wine from the beginning. But I think by being in the medical world, I had a special advantage in the world of wine. I had no assumptions. I had no biases. If you grow up in an industry, let's say you grow up in a wine family and you're making wine, you always think that you're part of the tradition. You're always pulling the cork. You're always serving the wine. You really don't have the opportunity to think differently because you grew up in it. I came from the outside. I think one big benefit was that I was not in the wine industry. I've never taken a wine class. I just loved wine.
True.
And then medicine gave me an understanding of technology that allowed me to solve the problem of pouring wine from a bottle by the glass without oxygen getting into the bottle and causing the wine to go bad. And so originally with the needle, which was actually a medical needle that I developed for Pfizer, I knew technology and I loved wine. And by coming from the outside, I could see a different way. How can we live with wine by the glass without having to sacrifice the bottle each time? How can I create a playlist of different wines? A Viognier, a Syrah from Meron, a different Cabernet Franc from Brazil. How can I have all three at home with my spouse or my friend and not have to throw away any of the wine? It's a freedom that I was able to see that from the outside of the industry.
That's great. And I heard your wife had everything to do with that.
Yeah.
Tell the story for us, please.
Yeah, well, you know, I loved wine and she loved wine, but we loved different wines. So one of us was always compromising on which bottle we opened. And so sometimes we didn't open wine because we couldn't agree on what we were going to open. And then, of course, she became pregnant with our second child and she stopped drinking, which is the right thing to do. And so now I was stuck. Nobody was drinking wine with me at home. And so I had to solve this problem because I really wanted a glass of wine, but I didn't want to waste the bottle. I work in medicine, so I can't drink a whole bottle by myself and go to work the next day. So when she was pregnant, that's when the idea hit me.
That's great. It was a stressful situation without wine, right?
It was. You know, we have two spectacular children that are now fully grown. But since launching Coravin, I've met many men who have said the same thing. Like, I bought my Coravin when my wife was pregnant. She wasn't drinking and I needed a glass of wine. So, I bought a Coravin. And it's a remarkably common problem. Or you're in a couple where one person doesn't drink wine, man or woman. And that person will now drink great wine by the glass and their partner can drink beer or whatever else or not drink at all. So I've had many people come to me and give me a big hug and say, "You saved my marriage."
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, right now we are at a wine bar who has more than 60 bottles. You can taste it by the glass.
Yeah.
Only because of Coravin. How do you see, in your perspective, how Coravin has changed the wine industry commercially and for people who use it at home? How do you, as the inventor of Coravin, see that, and how do you project that for the future?
I think that what Coravin has added to the wine industry is freedom by the glass. Any wine by the glass, like these guys, 67 wines by the glass. You can come here in this new wine region of Brazil, and you can explore Brazilian wines by the taste in a way you could never do before. They would never sacrifice 67 bottles, but now you can taste 67 different wines and learn in one day so much about this region of Brazil and also of other regions of Brazil that you couldn't do before. Freedom to explore this extraordinary world of tastes and smells. That's what I hoped. I had somebody explain it to me. He said, you know, in the past, we used to drink wine like we used to listen to an album of music. You know, we would listen to the whole album back in the old days.
We would have to compromise
Yeah,
to it.
well, no, you would listen to the whole thing because it was an effort to change the tape or change the album. Now we listen to a playlist. You know, we're on Spotify and we can build our own playlist of all sorts of different musicians. He said, you know, Coravin is the Spotify of wine.
That's
right?
great.
That can,
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
that's so good.
It was, and it's true. You know, when I'm at home, I have a glass of champagne or sparkling wine. Man, I've had some great Brazilian sparkling wine.
Oh yeah,
very, very good. And then I have a glass of white. I have a glass of red, or I can have a half glass of each. My spouse can have half of a glass of 3 different wines that she wants. And without waste, without hesitation, we wind up drinking better wines, and maybe we drink a little bit less because now we don't have to finish the bottle.
True, yeah.
I wanted to expand the ways that wine could be enjoyed. Still, we open bottles and we finish them, but now with Coravin, I think what Coravin has added is an expansion of the ways that you can explore wine by the glass. And what are we going to do in the future? I think we continue along that path. We will always stay in wine because that's what I and the team are passionate about. And if there's something more that we can do that can help our winery customers like these guys at Medem, or if we can help a restaurant with a new technology that will make a meaningful difference in their business, or a consumer like me at home, we will do it. So we have maybe 3 or 4 things in the works.
Yeah, and you mentioned sparkling wine.
Yes.
You have recently developed the Coravin for sparkling wine, which works with CO2,
yes,
right?
Yes.
It's different. The technology is different from the Coravin we use in still wines.
Yes.
Can you briefly explain that to us?
Yes. So Coravin works with argon gas. Argon is a noble gas that pushes the wine out of the bottle into your glass without any air getting in. And that's very important for still wines. When you pour a still wine, you exchange wine for air, and that is not good for the wine. And so we use argon gas, a noble gas. No smell, no taste, no chemical reactions to push the wine out. With sparkling wine, it's a very different problem. Sparkling wine protects itself from oxidation because it has CO2 in the liquid, which is even heavier than argon, and it protects against the oxygen. But even when you're pouring, some of the CO2 is released to help push the wine out, so not much air gets in. So Coravin Sparkling works by a stopper, a universal stopper that closes the bottle. It's probably the best stopper out there at sealing a bottle, preventing any oxygen from getting in or CO2 from getting out. And then we use a charger that uses CO2 set to a very specific pressure to restore the pressure in the space above the wine to prevent the CO2 in the liquid from wanting to leave the wine once it's closed. And so with that, you can store wine, sparkling wine, for more than a month, even down to the last glass. And it should be as fresh as a new bottle.
That's great. I can't wait to buy this one. Last question. There are some people who still think that Coravin is something for wine experts only. What would you say to someone who thinks that?
You know, to me, if you throw away 1 glass of wine, you've wasted so much. You've wasted the work of such a wonderful producer like this. But it's not just the waste that Coravin prevents, and that's why you should buy it, because it saves you money on throwing away wine. What is it worth to have the perfect glass of wine? The perfect glass of wine for that moment. And you can have a perfect white and a perfect red. You can take a wine you've been saving for years and it's too good to open. Have a glass right now. There is no wine that is too good to drink for me, because with Coravin I can have a glass of anything. And that freedom is important for a glass of wine or a bottle of wine that's $10 or a bottle of wine that's $100.
Great.
The goal is to have what you want.
That's great.
And
in
serve
the
what you want
perfect moment.
Perfect moment. That's what
Thank you so much, Greg. It's so good to have you here. I hope you're able to come back to Brazil.
Oh, I will definitely come
very
back.
soon.
Definitely come back. The wines
Thank
are too
you.
good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was very pleasant to be with you.
Really
those
a
last
pleasure.
days.
Thank you for this.